I am pleased to welcome to our program Stephen K. Roberts, who's a 39-year-old computer wizard expert who quite literally has gone hundreds and hundreds of miles around the country in this muscle-powered bicycle. Let me start it off by just giving you a brief look at this, and then we'll demonstrate. This is fabulous. This is a mobile communication center, which he's built all by himself, and quite literally can write a book, a poem, or a letter to his girlfriend while he's in transit. He's got the keys in a binary system on his handlebars. This guy is the son my mother wanted to have. Show him, Brian. Here's a look at the bike as we took. This is the home of Steve Roberts, not in this field, but on this bicycle. And it isn't just any bicycle. Steve Roberts' home is a 580-pound, $1.5 million bicycle. Its name is Behemoth, which stands for Big Electronic Human Energized Machine. Only too heavy. It has seven networked computer systems and a satellite Earth station. No kidding. He can, here, look at this. Locking in on one of the satellites. A cellular phone with a modem and a fax and a complete ham radio communication system and a whole lot more. You think they don't stare at him. He's also got a CD stereo system. Catch the helmet and notice the thing over the right eye. It's home for Steve Roberts, who quit his Midwestern suburban existence for a life on the road.
Bill, when are you going to abandon that frenetic New York lifestyle and hit the road on a bicycle? It's a great life.
Yes, the bike even talks. Well, Stephen, where do we start here? First of all, you were apparently always an egghead, huh?
Well, I did sort of grow up with technology, and I got into it when I was about 8 years old.
You're not offended if I suggest to you, you're tall enough, so I'm sure you're secure enough. You were kind of a nerdy kid, weren't you?
I would say so. Yeah, I was obsessed with technology more than baseball.
Right. Yeah, I know. The kid that always said present rather than here when they took. And you know, with a little pencil protector and the pen.
They hadn't invented those yet.
You were always in the front row of all the classes, and you had a basic white shirt, blue. Suit and tie job in suburban Columbus, and you decided you wanted to do something else. How am I doing?
Well, not too bad, except I had my own business. I'd gotten into consulting and freelance writing, and basically I had taken all my passions and converted them into businesses, which is a surefire way to trash a passion.
This is, as I suggested, muscle-powered.
Correct. Yeah.
And these wheels drop down when you're going too slow up a hill.
Yeah, let me get...
And you are solar paneled here. What do you want? Where do we start here, Phil?
Well, let me give you a quick look at the mechanics.
Let me get out of the way here.
Okay. First of all, when I'm on the road, the landing gear retract. So it really is only a bicycle. It has 105 speeds. That's because it is so heavy, I need to be able to gear way down when I'm going up a steep hill. So the granny gear is about 7.9 inches.
Don't miss the point here. This is not an automated automation machine. This is leg power, yes.
And steering is like this. This is much more comfortable than a standard bicycle. This is kind of the riding position. Good back support. I can put more power into the pedals, and I've got a good, comfortable view of the road. And of course, I'm normally wrapped in the brain interface unit here.
The brain interface unit. I could use one of those. Yes.
Give you the full effect.
All right.
I pulled into a Taco Bell in Seattle about a month or so ago at the drive-in window, and the woman seemed a little bit startled. And I said, "Give me a burrito. Resistance is futile."
Number 8. I want to show him what he. Look at this. Now you actually see a computer screen in this thing.
Yeah, this is called the Private Eye. It's a 720 by 280 computer screen that appears to float in space in front of me. And it's one of the environments. This is a little DOS machine, a little PC. There's a Macintosh in the console. So my right eye.
Excuse me, but this is our a pre-tape. That's what he sees. This is just like looking at a computer readout machine on any home computer. All right.
Yeah, they use something sort of like this in the attack helicopters, you know, the Apache, although this is certainly a consumer version of it. There's also a rear view mirror, of course. If I want to feel lightheaded, I just throw a switch. And then cursor positioning. You know, I've got a Macintosh up here in the console, so I need to be able to move the cursor around. And since I don't have a normal mouse, I have these little ultrasonic sensors on the helmet. And as I move my head around, the cursor will track, and then I use the keyboard and the handlebars to write. So that's kind of the basic user interface.
Let's go over this again here. All right, see, everybody knows about the mouse. I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. If you're not computer friendly, you may not know that the mouse is the little cursor that goes around the screen that tells you what you either choice or adding a word, a letter. And obviously, you know, it's pretty hard to chase the mouse while you're in transit, and he does it quite literally with his helmet and two sensors. Is that so? In this minor, like three.
Yeah, three.
Uh-huh. So let's understand this. While you're rolling along, you can access a mainframe computer information according to whatever code might be appropriate. You can write a letter. You can talk computerese with another computer operator in real time. Isn't that so?
I'm on the internet.
You're on the internet.
Right.
So you could be rolling along and suddenly find yourself in a sexy conversation. Isn't that right? Here you are. Uh-huh. Can you imagine people looking out their window watching this guy roll by? Now, this looks like fun. You're downhill. And is this a correct estimate? We're over $1 million here now?
About 1.2 is a fair estimate, including the cost of human time.
Right. You want to show us some of the innards here?
Sure.
Stephen, and then we'll... we have an analyst coming in to explain why would a guy go through this? And incidentally, what are the future practical applications for us? Can you imagine if he has been able to do... You want me around the back? If he has been able to do this with this basic bicycle technology, what might be possible in your car? And do you want it? And how much do you want? And what do you want to access on the way to work?
And how much will the manufacturer get sued when somebody's typing while driving?
If there's an accident, you mean?
Yeah, because people worry about cellular phones while driving.
Certainly. So. Well, we still have kept passengers in the back seat.
That's right.
Right front seat.
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally write your theses on the way to class. To and from class.
It's
fascinating.
It's procrastinator's delight.
And you do, oh, look at this readout here. Look at this.
Everything unfolds for service.
Uh-huh. More power to you. And yes, he has had the cooperation of a number of computer companies who like what he does and see marketing value in Mr. Roberts' undertaking here.
We are?
Well, I can't tell you how long it took me to put this together, but
Any
all
questions?
right. So here is the solid state inner workings of what? Everything, huh?
Yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but there's Macintosh and PC, a couple of hard disks here, all the backs of the displays and so on. That's I call the bicycle control processor, and it kind of runs everything. It takes care of security and power and all the networking and movement of audio around the bike and so on. This is particularly interesting. It's a Trimble GPS receiver, and there's a satellite antenna on the top of the fairing, and this gets data from the network of Navstar satellites, calculates its own location to about 50 to 100 foot precision anywhere in the world, and then can display that or use it as part of the security system.
Uh-huh.
So if the
a GPS, wait a minute. All right, so in other words, you punch in your coordinates, you tell the computer where you are.
It knows. It's getting the data from the satellites.
So you have a computer readout within 100 feet of where you are at any moment on the face of the Earth.
Correct.
Okay, and also presumably then it would be possible for someone who loves you or in another location to know exactly where you are if they had the computer technology.
I can run, but I can't hide.
Uh-huh. And I just can't imagine pedaling this thing. I mean, you must have wheels like pool tables.
Well, it's pretty good exercise.
Yeah. Show them the power unit here.
Okay, what powers everything except for the wheels? The wheels are solar powered too because I'm part of the food chain, but this actually gets about 30 to 35 miles per pizza. The primary power source for the whole system is the solar panels here. This is 72 watts, and there's a whole bunch of batteries scattered around that get power from this. And when I'm plugged into the wall, of course, when I'm staying in somebody's house or in a motel, I just plug it in. So I really haven't had much of a problem with power. Mm-hmm. There's a small man pack here that detaches, and it has its own solar panel also. It's great technology.
Yeah. Just one more time, you're just an adventurous guy. You're fascinated and obviously have skills that go to high technology and you enjoy your life on the road alone.
Well, you know what drove it is I spent so much time doing things that I didn't much enjoy anymore, trying to pay for something I didn't want after all, that I decided to make a list of all my passions and see if I could blend those into a lifestyle. So travel and adventure, romance, computers, bicycles, networking, publishing. I just decided to blend them, and the obvious solution was to sell my house in suburbia and hit the road.
I'm getting some advice here. Security. Yeah, is there a security? Obviously, you don't park this, you know, at every Wendy's and McDonald's and walk in. I mean, can you imagine somebody walking by this thing?
It has 6 levels of security sensors. There's an ungo box, of course, which is the standard car security system. It also has a 10 gigahertz microwave motion sensor here, so it knows if anybody's within about 10 feet. It knows if any access panel is being opened. It knows if the wheels are moving, and it knows if the latitude and longitude are changing without the right password. And if that happens, then not only does it beep me with a pocket beeper, but it puts out a beacon on ham radio. It sends a message via satellite to the Qualcomm hub down in San Diego, where all my computer messaging passes. And it uses the cellular phone and calls 911 and says, with its synthesizer,
where's the telephone?
Right up front. Let me close this up.
You know, I should know that you'd have a...
Yeah, there's an Oki cellular phone in the back, and I've got that networked up to the front here. So there's a standard answering machine.
Oh, I see. Here we are.
Right there. And it's got a cordless, so I can walk into a restaurant carrying a cordless phone.
You're going to call us? Yeah. All right.
Should we let the machine get it?
Well, yeah, I'd show them the tape of the phone, too. Look at this. You're aerodynamic. And I assume your drag is minimal. Let me have that mic, Allison.
Well, it's not too bad. It's not optimum. It would be smoother if the backs went to points.
Right.
But I'm not moving at high speed.
Just tell me, what is your vision here, and what's in it for practical mobile technology in the future? Say, let's talk about the automobile.
Okay, well, there are a couple of things. First of all, this is, in a way, it's kind of a caricature of this whole industry, because not too many people are going to want to trash their lifestyles and hit the road on a bicycle with computers on it. It's too heavy, it's hard work. Okay? Right. But a lot of the technologies that I'm using here are things that map very well, like being able to be completely productive and networked while traveling. Now, that takes care of people who are doing trade shows or who don't want to go to the office every day. You know the traffic around the city and what people spend in energy to commute. Right. A lot of work can be done from home. Most people move information.
Imagine the practical value for the traveling salesman.
Oh, sure.
I mean, just marketing reports. Do you have the tape? Yeah, let's see this. Is this the phone?
A phone aboard Behemoth, the computerized recumbent bicycle of Nomadic Research Labs. I'm not on the bike at the moment, but please leave a message, and as soon as I get back, I will find it and call you back. Thank you.
Fabulous.
There are a couple other things attached to the cellular phone. There's a credit card verifier. Since I have a journal and a book and so on that I'm selling, I have a little credit card machine on the bike now. So if somebody doesn't have cash, it's okay. I just take their plastic. And that works via cellular. And of course, it's got a modem and a fax board also, so we can send faxes while traveling.
Let me show you a map of the travels of Stephen Roberts. Here are just some of the places. This is on a bicycle. Look at this. Boy, you have seen the world. And he's never lonely. Remember, in his right eye, look at this, up in the Pacific Northwest, and then you did the East Coast. People must be just stunned when they see you and either demand information from you or throw stones at you. What's it like out there?
Well, it's an interesting door opener. One of the best parts of it is that the bike intrigues people to the point where I'm invited to share it with them. And then, of course, what's in it for me is that we finally get past the show and tell. I lock up the bike, and then I get to learn what they do. A recent example, I stopped at Fermi Labs last summer, the big National Particle Accelerator Laboratory. Did a talk, showed off the bike, locked it up, and spent 2 days prowling around and learning about high-energy physics. So there's all these wonderful, it's a sort of ongoing exchange. It's the commerce of my life, is this sort of mutual show and tell.
Sir.
How do you do ordinary life tasks, like, you know, sleep, eat dinner? How do you go on dates and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, have you got a life, Steve?
Yeah. The front 2/3 of the pack space, the front 2/3 of the trailer is all pack space. I've got tent and sleeping bag and all those things there. But mostly I stay with people I meet. I've had about 4,600 invitations over the years. I've been doing this since '83. Those all go into a database that I use in one of the DOS machines and see in the heads-up display. So when I pull into town, I just do a search based on area code or zip code or whatever. Who do I know here? Highlight the phone number field and tell the system to dial them, and
And you got a bed and breakfast for the...
Usually. Yeah, and failing that, there's always credit card camping.
Yeah, with all this equipment, how do you like when it rains and whatnot?
When it's raining, the only thing I really have to do to protect it is put a cover over the front panel here. And also, I haven't really tested this in the rain yet, so I put a baggie over the heads-up display, but everything else is pretty well waterproof already. Incidentally, the packaging here, all of this stuff is all homemade. I took corrugated cardboard and a hot glue gun, built the whole structure, and then fiberglassed over the whole thing. So it's very light, strong, and waterproof.
We have a number of hands in the air. Everybody wants to question Stephen Roberts, whose own Odyssey was highlighted in a very lengthy article in the Wall Street Journal. And don't forget, we've got, incidentally, I asked him if he can get commercial television. I mean, I'm just insecure enough to hope you can watch the Donahue show while you're on the road.
Especially this one.
Yeah, and you can.
Yeah.
You have a Watchman.
Just a Watchman. Yeah, there's nothing that I have on the console yet. Sharp has a little color video monitor, little LCD, and when I redo the front panel, it's going to be right down here.
So here he is on a bicycle connected to satellites, global positioning systems, modem. He's got a modem. He can fax. He can write. We didn't show you the, is this the binary?
Yeah.
Does this come, this is hard to show, isn't it?
Yeah, well we have a clip of it, but.
We do have a, which one is it? Number 7? Try the phone again? All right. All right. Hello, caller, are you there?
You are phone aboard Behemoth, the networked recumbent bicycle of Nomadic Research Labs. I'm doing the Donahue show at the moment and can't take your call, but I'll be checking for messages in the next hour or so, and I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Now, from what source is that audio tape?
Yes,
Steve. Steve, we're calling you from New York. When you get a moment, give us a call, and you might think about better things to do than waste your time on those daytime talk shows. You know where to reach us if you have to. Thank you. Be careful and watch for the trucks behind you. Before we break, we were going to make the point about the hand control.
Yes.
Yeah, is that ready? Here,
Yeah.
Look at this now. Don't forget, this is the binary. You know, just open, shut. This is the highest tech form of computer technology for the use of either accessing or even word processing. Right?
That's mostly what I use it for.
So you're typing there right now.
Yeah, I was riding along in West Texas one day in the first version of this bike, and stories were writing themselves in my head and kind of evaporating. And I play flute, and it occurred to me that since I can get 3 octaves out of 9 fingers on a flute, I should be able to use it for text.
So
that's where
Walden had a pond. You've got country roads in all over America, wherever you may choose to go.
Anywhere.
Wow. We'll be back to let you ask your questions of Stephen Roberts in just a moment. Here he is, Stephen Roberts, and his weird bicycle.
Hey, what do you mean?
But it does look like fun. Just give him a brief look at your free. You do have a computer. You do have a keyboard. Show him the keyboard. No, the other one, the regular one.
Oh, this, yeah.
So when you're stopped for the night, you can go to the normal way of finishing your.
Yeah, that's still faster than the
opus.
handlebars. I get about half the normal typing speed on the handlebars.
Right. Now, computer-skilled people see the mouse there, down on the floor, Brian, where we looked just before. There's the mouse. Now, don't say once again, while he's in transit, his mouse is in his helmet. It's been a while since I've been able to say that. First guest we ever had with a mouse in his helmet.
Just kind of curious, are you corporate sponsored? Have you acquired this through your own assets or whatever?
I have about 150 sponsors who've worked on the project with me, donating equipment and sometimes human time. It's helped a lot. I never would have been able to do it entirely on my own.
I would like to know how many moving violations you've acquired this year.
Actually, I got pulled over by a cop in South Hill, Virginia, who was watching me go by and pulled up alongside with lights and siren and told me to get over, and he walked up alongside with the mirrored sunglasses and said, "I just want to see what the hell y'all got here."
I was just curious if you ever intending on coming off the road or if you were going to continue this until the end.
I don't know. I'm sure there are going to be changes. There are a couple of design flaws here. One of them is that it goes on the road, and the other is that I have to pedal it. So I've been thinking about watercraft, but I really don't know. I'm kind of driven by moment-to-moment passions and things that are interesting. So I'll just wing it.
Why wouldn't you go to a Harley or?
Well, you know, motorcycles are kind of intimidating to people, and a big part of this is social. And it's also lets me move slowly enough to get through the forest, or slowly enough to see the trees, but fast enough to get through the forest, I guess you could say. And it also keeps me healthy.
And you should take a bow for being pollution-less.
Right, exactly. Well, a lot of the... Yeah. There's a lot of sort of scarce resource management here. Using solar power and human power and so on is very low impact, and it's the kind of thing that's sustainable indefinitely.
Do I understand that the solar panels enhance the energy to the pedal and your no?
No, they don't touch it. Yeah, one of the upcoming projects is a little motor generator in the front wheel, but haven't done that yet.
Have you ever had any trouble with Hell's Angels?
No, you know, I think there's a sort of subtle kindred spirit between people on motorcycles and people on bicycles. There are a lot of kinds of people that I've always been afraid of. And when I started from Ohio, I got a lot of warnings about all the places not to go. And what I started finding out is that from everybody's perspective, other places are dangerous. So everybody's warning me about the South. Well, I got to the South and it was fine. People were very friendly. And in Alabama, some people came out of a gas station or into a gas station when I was there and said, "You going through Louisiana? You better take a 30-06 with you." Then I got to Louisiana and some guy said, "You come through Alabama and didn't get mugged?" You know, and after a while, I kind of put two and two together and realized that people are really nice and basically decent everywhere. It was just a few bad individuals.
We go to war not for what the other guy does, but for what we think he's going to do.
Right. Difference is danger in many people's eyes.
Absolutely. I assume you've read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Indeed.
You are as close to that in the high-tech version as we might find today. Is that so? I don't want... Huh?
Perhaps I haven't really attempted any similarity, but you know, I certainly related to the book.
I was curious, how do you decide where you're going to go next?
It's kind of whim and weather. I have this big mental list of places that are intriguing and appealing to me, and I just sort of attempt to hit them. It's really very open-ended and free. And one of the things I learned about all this while traveling is that if you get too obsessed with where you're going, you lose respect for where you are. While traveling, if you're thinking about the goal, everything in between becomes an obstacle. So when traveling on a bicycle, that's very painful. So I find that if I just kind of wing it and enjoy the present and where I am, it's a better experience all around. That works for life, too.
Let me give you another brief tape look. This is what we did. I'm coming to you guys, I promise. Here, we've got the United States Supreme Court here in the front row. Here you are again. Here's the ham. I mean, this man has quite literally, scores of hobbies right on this bicycle. Show him, Brian. Here's...
Roberts destroys his antennas.
All right, ham radio operators are familiar with the antenna. And here's your satellite. Now watch this satellite
go.
Watch it pick up now.
And we'll go around until it finds it again.
Oh, beep, beep, beep. There it is.
LCQ. This is N4RVE, November 4, Romeo, Victor Echo, Bicycle Mobile in Kentucky, calling CQ, and standing by.
Now you'll hear... Fort Myers.
He's down there. Fort Myers, Florida. Okay, I copied the Fort Myers, Florida. I think we're marginal as far as our ability to carry on the QSR there, but thank you for returning.
Wow. Yeah, you wanted to ask briefly with time running out.
Yes, I'd like to know where'd you get all the parts from?
All over. The stuff that was particularly hard to find or brand new technology was often from sponsors. Also, I spent the last 3.5 years primarily in Silicon Valley building the new machine, and the resources are incredible. It spoils you.
Here is the bicycle doing the work of a talk show host. This is scary. Watch. I mean, how concerned you should be. This technology could replace me. Wouldn't that be terrible? Watch this.
We'll be right back after these messages.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Sir.
How much is the insurance in case of an accident?
I've actually never been able to get it insured. I've tried, no luck.
Yes.
I keep hearing you speaking of romance and like mentioning that. Like, how do you is women turned on by this, like cars and stuff?
Yes. Yeah. He wants to know, just as a matter of curiosity.
Yes, I recommend it. Actually, you should get one.
You do draw a crowd of all kinds of.
I had a girlfriend travel with me for quite a while named Maggie, and she had a recumbent with a trailer like this. She carries a cat on her trailer and a cat carrier.
So she had her own separate vehicle.
Yes.
Similarly constructed.
Pretty much, not with all the computers though.
Could you travel abroad on this?
I want to very much. Yeah, I want to do Europe, Australia, and Japan.
Yes.
Have you ever worked for Battelle Industry, and what does FCC say about all this?
Well, I haven't worked with Battelle, and I've never had any FCC problems. I'm completely legal, so. Yeah.
Do I understand that you have the road? You have a map of every country road in the United States, or every route in the United States, and it's all on a computer CD?
One CD. Yeah,
every road in the United States?
Yep.
So you can then call up. Can I sit down here? You can call up then a visual display that is essentially a road map of that would include in the area where you happen to be located at the moment.
Right.
And you have the GPS satellite system telling you where you are. So you've got a visual road map and a point on that map showing you exactly where you are.
Yep.
This is the craziest thing I ever heard.
It's all it's all off-the-shelf technology now.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you programmed with the computer, like told him what to say, or just by himself.
Oh yeah, that's it's not very smart. It has a good synthesizer, but I have to give it text.
How do you keep your hardware from overheating?
Part of the problem that I had on the previous bike is I had a clear plastic cover over here on a solar panel, and it got really hot in the bright sun. Now I have a white cover, and it reflects the sunlight. So everything's pretty cool.
You program your routes when you ride on your bike, right?
No, I just ride.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask, if a pedestrian came by, would you have to reprogram?
Well, there are things that that are higher priority than the computers. When I'm looking out through the helmet here, I'm still seeing all of reality very comfortably, and the world is out there, and I have all these little windows that represent computer environments. So the two don't necessarily cross.
Have you ever gotten in an accident?
Yeah, there have been a couple. I did an incompetent U-turn in wine country. The two were slightly correlated, and and trashed an ankle. And somebody opened a pickup truck door in front of me in Whiteville, North Carolina, which slowed me down for a few weeks. But nothing serious.
Stand by here. I want to get you in here, but let me just show you. Show him number 10, Brad. Here is what Stephen K. Roberts has said about himself and what he does. I have no idea how it started, but I do know I'm a victim, a happy victim. More willing to pedal over hills on a 95-degree summer afternoon than endure an air-conditioned lab at $50,000 a year. The road, which you call, Stephen, the other woman, is the love of my life. And I'll kiss her sweet asphalt forever if she'll keep me free from the torpor of stability. What's that mean, genius? Torpor of stability.
Well, it's very easy to get trapped in a situation where you're working very hard at things you don't like to pay for things you don't want. You can get stuck in situations turning cranks, situations where you're trying to please other people. That's almost a mode that we get programmed into from childhood. You're in school, you're learning, you learn not to satisfy yourself, but to satisfy your teachers. And this habit persists through life. And what I tried to do is break the cycle of that, see if I could have both freedom and security and go out and have adventures. And that's really the basis of this. That's what keeps it going. It's a continuous learning curve, and it's continuous fun. And that's
now, you're not the first person to forsake Wall Street or air-conditioned high-rise office space and so on.
Not at all.
For the road. But this is probably the most unique high-tech expression of a rebellion from a culture which does pressure us into doing things that we might not otherwise do, and in the process, perhaps, forget that we really are free people who can make a decision like this crazy one you've made, Steve.
We have choices. And I've chosen tools that let me continue to be productive while I'm traveling. So that's why a lot of this is here.
Yes, I was kind of interested in the feature you said when somebody tries to move off with your vehicle and alerts you and tells you what's going on. That seems to have some application in the trucking industry for hijackings and so on.
I think there are product spin-offs here. Some of that is actually already used. This antenna in the back this is from Qualcomm, and it's called the Omnitrax terminal. And this is what I use for doing my electronic mail and so on. It's all via satellite. This thing is talking to a satellite 24,000 miles away, sends and receives messages, and there's a single line called the panic line. And some of the truckers now, if the system is stolen, automatically sends a message to San Diego where there's operators standing by.
And we'll be back in just a moment. That is the Steve Roberts, the suburban Columbus, Ohio chap who always was a little different.
Just a yuppie hobo.
And proudly so. Show him your CD just briefly, then we'll get this on.
Is the most important part. Helps me get up the hills.
Uh-huh.
How do you support yourself? How do you make your living?
Freelance writing and consulting and doing speaking gigs.
And when you speak, you usually have to take what you call the what? The monster?
The mothership.
The mothership, which is a truck.
Yeah, it's a mobile laboratory, basically. I took a Wells cargo trailer and built a lab into it, so I can use that as a sort of mobile home base.
There it is. There it is.
Ah, yes.
Here is Stephen Roberts acknowledging with some reluctance the fact that even he might have to go to the reciprocating engine
now and then
in order to make a gig. Yeah,
I'm in New York.
Has anyone showed any interest in purchasing this?
I've had a few sort of loony offers, but I've never really wanted to sell it. What would I do with my life if I got rid of Behemoth?
Yeah. The communication packages are neat, but don't you ever want to just get away from all that and get back to nature?
Absolutely. In fact, there's a small backpack that I carry with me, and I can just take off. In fact, a couple of tools let me just leave the bike entirely. This HP's new little 95LX, wonderful little computer. I can use this for my note-taking and things like that. Stick this in a pocket or something like that and just take off and climb a mountain. And I frequently want to get away from this thing, so yes.
How long did it take you to design and build that?
This version's got about 3.5 years in it with help from about 45 volunteers.
How much maintenance and upkeep is needed for a machine like this?
Well, as the system complexity approaches infinity, the mean time between failures approaches 0. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I think I understood what he just said.
Were you influenced by Star Trek at all?
Well, actually, I want to say something about that. The new Star Trek, The Next Generation, is really doing a beautiful job because it's paperless offices, and the victories happen when people do things that are intelligent rather than have bigger guns. So in a way, yes, a lot of that is very true.
Now you can, while you're driving along, actually communicate with someone by computer.
Yeah, I live on the networks. In fact, I really need to make this point because being a nomad is part of this, but the other part of it is that I really do have a stable home.
You're never lonely.
I'm never lonely. I live in the computer networks. I call it data space. Internet is my primary environment. I also use Genie very heavily, where I have an area where I publish my stories. And I have a tremendous number of relationships, friendships, romances, all sorts of different kinds of encounters that take place entirely through the computer networks. And I'm collaborating with people on projects while traveling, and it just doesn't matter where my body is. And that's because of all these communication tools.
Yes. Not that you sought this out, but haven't you found yourself in erotic conversations while you're pumping along on the old two-lane highways?
That can happen, yes.
Uh-huh. Well, that ought to make the time go by. We do. Yes, you wanted to ask.
How many versions of this bike have you made?
This is version 3. The first was called the Winnebago. And wrong image. And then the second one.
There it is. I think that's version 1, isn't it? Can you see the monitor up there?
Yeah, that's the original one. I did 10,000 miles on that starting in Columbus. And I carried a little laptop computer, but I couldn't write while riding. And that's what led to the development of this one right here, that one that's shown in the picture, which has this computer built in, but it was very structured architecturally. It was very difficult to add things after I built it. So that's what led to this.
This is version 3.
Right.
The Behemoth, and we'll be back in a moment.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
I should tell you that Stephen K. Roberts does not have a brain made of solid-state transistors. Here is a real live human being who, among other things, found your birth mother. Did you? You're an adopted person.
Yeah, I was adopted. I grew up in a very healthy environment of logic and engineering and science fairs and so on, but I always knew I was adopted. So I tracked down my birth parents and just made a phone call out of the blue, and one thing led to another, and we became very good friends. I came to find out that first of all, my biological parents are sort of writers, artists, and so on. Also, my biological grandfather on his side took off in a homemade boat in about 1920 or something, and writing magazine articles and getting newspaper coverage, and headed down the Mississippi, around the Gulf, up the Atlantic, and down the coast, or down the St. Lawrence. So,
did you roll into your birth mother's place in this contraption?
No, this was before I started this.
Yeah, and the other, do you have a coolant? Show them the coolant. Is that demonstrable?
Oh yeah, this is pretty magical. You know, one of the problems when you're on a big heavy bicycle like this is that you have this insulator on your head, which blocks your body's favorite cooling path. So this thing from Life Support Systems is was actually originally made for NASA. Now it's used by firefighters and race car drivers. It gives you this sort of druid look. You know? And there's these little tubes here plug in right here. There's a 7-liter tank down there and a pump, and I can circulate ice water through the helmet liner. On a morning of a hot day, I throw a 99-cent bag of crushed ice in there, and then all day long it cools my body.
Why is it so ugly? Have you considered aesthetics or aerodynamics?
Have I considered what?
Aesthetics or aerodynamics.
Yeah,
the gentleman has suggested here that you've given birth to an ugly baby.
Oh, I'm stunned. Well, actually, there are trade-offs in everything having to do with weight and size and complexity. And things like this, by no means optimal aerodynamically. Things could be smooth all the way back and then a tail that just goes down to a point. I'm moving at low speed, so that's not a huge issue. But yes, it would be better. But then we have more weight and more access problems getting to everything.
I was just wondering who drives the truck that follows you that you can pack your bike in, and does it follow you around, or does it?
No, the truck never follows me. I'm either on this full-time, wandering open-ended, or I throw it in the truck if I have to zoom cross-country for some reason. Yes. So there's no sag wagon.
Do you have any problems licensing it in any state?
It's just a bicycle.
Yeah.
What did your friends and family thought about the idea?
What do my friends and family think about it?
Yeah.
Well, my mother's first reaction when I announced that I was going to do this was, what's the matter, Steve? You're going to be a bum all your life. They've come around, and they love it now. And I think there were a few friends who were pretty skeptical, and one friend said, I'll give you a week to get over it. But, you know, in a way, it pursues everybody's dreams.
You were pushed around, I assume, as a kid because you were perceived as brainy and... isn't that so?
Well, I didn't really fit into the neighborhood culture very well, no.
And you developed your own defense for this.
Well, there was the summer of the squirt guns when I was about 12 or something, and I was coming home from school one day, and the kids were sort of gathering around and squirting me and getting my books wet, and it's very humiliating, you know, especially because they're all bigger and stronger. And yeah, right, yeah, thank you. Okay, so well, Popular Electronics had just published this little circuit called the Tickle Stick, which is like a little cattle prod. And so, you know, it's just a little thing you could build. I don't know what the voltage was, 5,000 or 10,000 volts, but very, very low current. Nothing that would hurt you. And so I built that thing and took 2 squirt guns and mounted them on a little stock with a handle so I could squeeze the lever and squirt 2 streams of water. And I put salt water in the guns, which is conductive, and then connected the tickle stick to the 2 squirt guns. So as long as the streams of water touched somebody without breaking up into droplets, they'd get a shock. And apparently this was unexpected. And the effect was somewhat intimidating. And
you actually would paralyze temporarily.
Oh, no. It's not like a stun gun. Very, very low current. This is a toy, basically.
Oh, it didn't knock them down or anything.
Well, I think there was a rather significant shock value. Well, yeah, kind of. But
well, you go ahead.
Well, I used it, and the effect was dramatic. And then I ran out of water. Oh, God, I didn't think about this. I went running home and literally hid for 3 or 4 hours thinking I was about to get trounced. And apparently they just thought maybe they shouldn't.
And now you're a more peaceful man.
Yes, I don't want to give the impression that I'm into weapons at all. I mean, I'd rather publish now to solve problems.
Have you considered including a microwave oven in there so you wouldn't have to stop as much?
Too power hungry. I do carry a camp stove though, for normal camp cooking.
Where do you plan on going next?
During this next phase, after I get done with New York and DC and so on here in the East Coast, I'm going to haul the mothership out west, tie it down someplace, and try to forget about it and take off on the bike around Colorado, Utah, and other beautiful places.
I think we have some Australians in our audience, do we not? New Zealand. I assume he'd be welcome there, would he?
I'd love to. Yeah, I very much want to go there.
They won't throw stones at you.
What's the top speed you feel comfortable with?
No, it depends on what I had for breakfast, but my normal cruising speed is 9 to 10 miles an hour. I've had it to 50.5 with a gravity assist, but I don't feel comfortable with that. It's terrifying.
Are you going to enter a bike race soon?
No,
race?
I'm
No.
sort of the exact opposite of a racer. So, in speed, temperament, capability.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Nomadic Research Labs.
El Segundo, California is your business address, is it?
Right, base office.
That's Post Office Box 2185. The zip at El Segundo is 90245. High Techno Madness happens to be a periodical. You haven't asked us to, but I am pleased to call our audience's attention to Computing Across America, the Bicycle Odyssey of a High-Tech Nomad. What I find interesting about this, Stephen Roberts is not the only, how shall we say it irreverently, computer freak in America, or certainly not. We have increasing numbers of young people who are just totally fascinated by this new technology. A lot of them are loners. A lot of them wind up in a room with four walls and all kinds of, not to say that's a bad thing, and if this is what they like, but here is the marriage of the great outdoors and adventure and that wonderful hobby. What an interesting hybrid this is.
I can add something to that. One of the things that fascinates me about life in the network is that it's entirely brain-to-brain contact, and the normal assumptions you make about somebody when you first see them face-to-face just don't exist. And I've developed close friendships with all kinds of people who may never have intrigued me otherwise.
Do you have any bizarre stories for us?
No, nothing strange ever happens.
You're at risk here, though, truly, physically speaking.
Yes. I mean, here on the show, or?
Oh, well, no. Here's what would just terrify anybody who's close to you and loves you and worries about your well-being: being overtaken on a curve, or fog or limited visibility. I assume you don't drive at night.
Sometimes, actually, I have some pretty good lights, and sometimes night riding is safer than day riding because the traffic volume is down.
Yeah.
Well, let me answer your question and yours at the same time. One of the more bizarre stories happened in the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal towpath, and I have to really edit the language a lot, so I'll give you the very short version, but I'd stopped to look across a big field toward Interstate 70 where there'd been a truck wreck, and I heard a rustling in the leaves, and 5 of the biggest, meanest, toughest looking men I've ever seen in my life stepped out of the woods. We chatted for a while. It turned out they were convicts from the federal penitentiary at Hagerstown. I said, "You escaping or what?" And they said, "Hey, we ought to fix our traveling man up here." So I ended up walking with these guys off into the woods toward the truck. I found out they were a work release crew that were there to clean up the truck wreck. So I was a little bit relieved. But we didn't go to the truck wreck. We went into the woods. And there was this big lumpy mound under a tarp. And it was stuff from the truck they were stealing. And they wanted to share it with me. And it turned out he lifted the tarp back. And there was this giant mound of Sara Lee pastries. And so I was plied with pastries. They all took, hey, you want some walnut cake? And cheese Danish, man, that's where it's at. And pretty soon I got this armload of this stuff festooned all over the bicycle, and off I went. Yeah.
I know myself, when you got to go, you got to go. I bet you went to the bathroom in some pretty interesting places, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever go into detail about that, but
yes.
Yeah, the roadside you get good at it too.
I've been accused of sleeping in some weird positions, and just about any position. Can you sleep on that? And what position would you be sleeping in there?
I've never done that. I suppose I could if I after an all-nighter.
Yeah.
But the tent is actually big enough to contain the entire bike, so sometimes I'll just put that up and hide the bike and then crawl inside.
Yes.
What are your future plans? Are you planning on making something as bizarre in the future?
I think I might. I'm getting intrigued by water, and I'm thinking about doing a sort of hybrid human power and solar power vehicle that works on both water and land.
Yeah. Brian, can we just see a piece of this next tape? Here is the talking feature of the BMO.
Bicycle here. Please do not touch me. This is a no smoking area. Hi there, pretty girl. Would you like to ride on me? Ouch. Oh no, here he comes again. My name is Behemoth. That stands for Big Electronic Human Energized Machine, only too heavy. We'll be right back after these messages.
For a transcript of today's program, send $3 check or money order to Donahue Transcripts, 1535 Grand Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 303-831-9000.
a spy agency that uses high-tech devices to see if your man is cheating on you. Next, Donahue.
Is there one sponsor that's been more interested than others? It's okay to mention.
Very recently, Sun Microsystems is probably the biggest one. I spent about 1.5 years in a lab that they provided, and I've gotten very involved in Unix and workstations and doing a lot of work now helping support them with new exercises and portability.
Yeah, what do you think would be the actual use for mankind?
Yeah,
Service is provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Look at me eating peanut brittle. Even with my dentures, thanks to Super Polygrip.
Hold your dentures ultra tight with Super Polygrip.
Did you worry about perming your hair? Not with Lilt for total condition. With conditioners built in every step of the way. It's the worry-free perm.
Guest accommodations provided by the luxurious Drake Hotel, a Swiss hotel on Park Avenue. Call 1-800-DRAKE, New York and ask about our weekend and honeymoon packages starting at $125.